it's not probably most people's dream to live out of a suitcase all the time, to be constantly on the go and traveling, and probably not most people's idea to go and stay with a tribe in South Sudan, which is like what I did. Probably not most people's idea of a good time, but it's mine.
Yeah.
I think it's such a privilege to learn about other people's cultures and history and traditions. The most important lesson traveling teaches me is that actually the world's predominantly full of really kind, hospitable people. And despite what the news and the media tells you, it's actually a really safe place to travel. The kindness I've experienced from strangers, almost every country I've visited, has been overwhelming. And I think that's a fantastic thing to see and to experience. That people, yeah, people are kind. I think people forget that.
Welcome to the 51%, the podcast where we cut through the noise and get back to basics when it comes to women's health. Through expert insights and powerful personal stories, we help you tune into what really matters: your body, your well-being, your life. No one-size-fits-all advice, just real conversations to help you understand your health on your terms. But before we dive in, I've got a quick favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and join the 51% community on our website. It's free and helps us grow, reach more women, and create events that really speak to the health and wealth challenges we all face. And finally, just so you know, everything shared is for information only. It's not medical or financial advice, and always speak to a qualified expert for support that's right for you. Lynn, welcome to the podcast. It is fantastic to have you on. And we're going to be talking about one of my topic areas, which I am hugely passionate about. I love to travel as much as I can. I do not get to travel like you, of course, which we're going to be talking about, but one day I hope to. So could you please introduce yourself and talk about your journey, kind of the before and after, really, because that's quite intriguing.
Okay, so my name's Lynn. I'm originally from the UK. I was born in Durham and I lived in Nottingham for 14 years. I don't live there anymore. I sold my house over 2.5 years ago now. And ever since then, I've just been traveling the world. I'd done a lot of traveling before that. And my first round the world trip was in 1992, a different time then, a time before mobile phones or social media or emails or anything. I had one 9 book and Lonely Planet, Southeast Asia on a shoestring, and that was my social media. And off I went round the world for a year. And that came about because I wanted to turn something negative into something positive. I got into business with someone who I thought was a very good friend. Turned out not to be quite so good a friend. And to cut a long story short, they ran out of debts on our business without my knowledge. And because they didn't have any finances, I became responsible for those. So I ended up losing my house, my business, and my job, which was attached to the business. So at the start again, really. And luckily, I found a job, and this is again like the old days. It was working in a building society, but in those days, it was just becoming computerized. And when I started there, it was just you wrote the balance in a little passbook, so you just handed your book over in the amount of money, and they added it onto your little account in your little passbook. But it was all
I remember
all
that.
becoming computer. Yeah. It was all becoming computerized. So luckily that meant there was just lots and lots of overtime. So I just worked 7 days a week, 8 till 8 Monday to Friday, 8 till 5 Saturday, 8 till 4 Sunday, and just saved lots of money. I then went off to Greece and worked 3 jobs in Greece for 6 months. Came back, walked into Trailfinders travel agents, and booked around the world ticket and went off the following week. And that was the start of my journeys, which have continued and led me now to have visited 177 countries.
Wow. How many do you have left, or is that it?
Nor do I have 18 left.
Wow. gosh, that's hardly anything. My God, what countries do you have left?
There's quite a few. There's a few in Africa, and I mean, there's 54 countries in Africa. I love Africa. I think I've been to 45 out of the 54, so that's my biggest gap. But I head back there in 3 weeks' time. I'm going to Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, and Chad. So yeah, that'll take some more up. Yeah, and then I've got 4 in the Caribbean and 1 in Europe, which is Belarus, and the only one in the Americas I haven't been to is El Salvador.
Wow, gosh. I mean, from a kind of point of view of, 195 in total, and, from a perspective of from an outsider's perspective, from what we watch on TV, you'd think most of the countries around the world are dangerous these days to go to, and there's such a huge risk. But we'll go into that a bit later because I know obviously you've been to so many places, and a lot of the places that's not the real view of what's going on. Now, I know obviously you went on this round the world trip for a year, and then you came back, and then what happened?
And then actually, before I went off on the trip, I was going to postpone it at one point because the war had started in Bosnia, and it was something I felt very strongly about, and I wanted to do something to try and help. So I wrote to lots of charities and different organizations, but no one was either sending anyone out or I didn't have the necessary skills. When I got back from my round the world trip, just by chance, I was walking through Nottingham and somebody was shaking a tin, and it said Workers' Aid for Bosnia. So I put a pound in the tin, and then he gave me a leaflet, and it said, anybody interested in going on an aid convoy to Bosnia, contact this number. So that's what I did, and I ended up on an aid convoy to Bosnia in the height of the war, and it was a fantastic story because it has a very strong connection to me because my family thought, well, go back hundreds of years, so back from the 18th century, were all miners. So my granddad was a coal miner for 52 years. Now, when the miners' strike happened in the 1980s in the UK, and the miners in Bosnia and Tuzla sent aid to our striking miners. So when the war happened in Bosnia, the Yorkshire miners wanted to do something to pay that back, and they organised aid convoys. So I ended up on a convoy, 3 lorries. We had all kinds of things. We had obviously food and clothes, but we also had an incubator for a hospital. We had desks and chairs for a school that had been bombed. And yeah, we drove from England all the way through Europe and into Bosnia, and stayed with local families there and distributed the aid. And it was incredible. I mean, probably the experience I'm proudest of, I think, in my life.
Wow, that's a, deeply personal connection there, obviously. So how did that experience kind of influence your worldview and your decisions going forward?
Well, it was an incredible experience. I think I've been other places. It was really obviously it was dangerous, and I outside Sarajevo, which was then blockaded, you couldn't drive into Sarajevo. I had there was lots of gunfire, and a truck with a machine gun mounted on the back, pulled in front of our lorry, and the guy with the machine gun pointed it at me, and him, and he looked at me, and who knew what was going to happen. And anyway,
gosh.
luckily in the end, he just fired it up in the air, and then they drove off. But, yeah, and then like completely my fault because sometimes you forget where you are and where the danger is. And I just been traveling the back of the lorry, and I really wanted to go to the toilet, so I ran up this hill to the top and behind these trees in this field. And when I came back, and the man who was the guy who was organising the convoy, he was French, and he went ballistic at me. He's shouting at me. He said, "There, minefield," and I just had a wee in it. So I ended up just by mistake having a wee in a minefield. Wouldn't have been a nice way to go. Bottom blown on my landmine. not my not my favorite choice. And then there was grenade attacks when we were at a local school and near the front line, and we had a big shrapnel in the lorry. But I think what it makes you feel quite invincible. I think is the word. And when you come away from that you survived it, and I think it makes you feel invincible, and that you could do absolutely anything is possible. But also, I think just staying with the local families and just seeing the bravery and how people just continue with their daily lives in spite of everything. And I mean, they all look like Ben and me. I've been sleeping in a lorry for for a week. I mean, they look very dignified, and they were all like really well dressed. And yeah, I was a complete mess. But it was a fabulous experience staying with the local family, but also, and I went back visiting them after the war, actually. They kept trying to get me married off so I'd stay in Bosnia, and tried to set me up with all kinds of people. So I'd actually, stay there and then not come back. But it didn't work.
God, that's a completely different experience. That is, dude, being in a kind of minefield trying to have a wee, it's kind of like complete extremes of, very, very different. So, I mean, that must have, I feel like when you're faced with that kind of challenge, really, um, and seeing what you're seeing in a kind of war situation and going through that and obviously surviving, because it would have been quite a dangerous situation to be in, it must have really changed your view on life and what you want for your life. Because then obviously after that, you went traveling for a year. Is that right?
No, I traveled for the year before. This has happened just after I got back. It was literally just after I'd gone back, and I ended up I ended up there.
Okay. So then you came back and then you stayed in the UK for a short time and then went off again?
No, I didn't actually. I ended up. I managed to find a job in Germany. It was a company called Jobs in the Alps, and they advertised jobs in Germany. So I went to work in the Alps in Germany I was supposed to be there for 6 months, and they asked me to stay longer. So I ended up staying there for a year, and it gave me a chance because I got free accommodation and free food. So it gave me lots of time to save more money. And then I ended up going off to Africa and spent 6 weeks traveling around Africa in a double-decker bus, which was quite an experience too, because they'd never seen a double-decker bus in Africa before. This mad Australian guy then shipped it over there. Shipped it over to Africa and converted it so it had bunks inside and a viewing deck, and then we just went off to Kenya, uh, Tanzania, Uganda, Zaire as it was at the time, and guerrilla safari, which was incredible. Malawi, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and then I spent more time traveling around Africa on my own. So I was a few months in Africa then.
Wow. Okay. But you did come back for a while, because I know after COVID, that was a kind of pivotal moment for you to kind of think, right, this is it now. So what was your decision on that? We're in COVID, you're stuck. We're all stuck really with travel and lots of other things. So what happened from there?
Okay, so I did. I mean, there's been periods where I've spent a long time, many years in the UK, and just did shorter periods of travel. And I mean, COVID for me was wonderful actually, because we were locked down for like the 3 months to start with, from the end of March to July the 3rd. I know the date because July the 5th I was on a plane to Italy, and I'll never get that travel experience again. I'll never get a chance to travel all the places I did with no people, no tourists, no cruise ships, no nothing. It was fantastic. I went to Cinque first and hiked all the trails there. And I could walk for 2 hours and see no one. And it was just local. So I just got to mix with locals, which is what I love. And then from there I went to Lucca, and I met somebody there who sent me to the gallery to the Uffizi in Florence. And there was nobody in it. It was empty. And I've been to Florence 3 times, but I thought this is just too good an opportunity to miss. So let's go and explore
Yeah.
the galleries of Florence. And I've never seen David at the academia because they either queues for too long or I didn't have the time. So I got to do that. I went to Milan, Lake Como, Venice, and then I went to Montenegro. They were saying to me like, Lynn, you are the only English person in Montenegro. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I love that. It's great. And Albania and North Macedonia, Greece, and then back to Italy. I think my plan, I've always had been that I was going to sell my house at some point and travel. And but I think I never believed that they could lock the world down. And I think that really shocked me. Actually, it scared me that I might not get a chance to travel. You know, I never believed that could possibly happen. So I think that was the kickstart that I needed to like let's do it now because I work with people in the UK who looked after people with Alzheimer's or dementia, and we're all like, so what would happen if that happened to me? I get Alzheimer's, they put me in a nursing home, they sell my house, pay for the care, and when he's gone in a few months, so I'm like, yeah, let's sell the house and let's spend the money wisely on travel and doing all the things and I wanted to do and see the places I want to see.
I mean, that would bring a lot of perhaps anxiety to a lot of people and kind of like, no way, I could not do that. And, the fear of doing something really different, selling your house and spending the rest of your life traveling is a huge, huge decision. And I appreciate, obviously, not everyone can do that. And you didn't have any kind of ties like children and so on. So it wasn't as if kind of you're leaving your children behind, leaving them on the street, selling your house and then going off. It's a very different scenario. And I understand that. But that would put a lot of fear in people and they just would not be able to take that step with or without children,
Yeah, of course. And I get a lot of people say to me, I'd really like to do what you are doing, but actually probably most people wouldn't like to travel like me. It's not probably most people's dream to live out of a suitcase all the time, to be constantly on the go and traveling, and probably not most people's idea to go and stay with a tribe in South Sudan and have a shower in cow urine, which is like what I did when I was there because that's what the tribe does. Like you try it. That's probably not most people's idea of a good time, but it's mine.
Yeah.
I think it's such a privilege to learn about other people's cultures and history and traditions. And I think the most important lesson that traveling teaches me is that actually the world's predominantly full of really kind, hospitable people. And despite what the news and the media tells you, it's actually a really safe place to travel in.
Yeah, this is a problem, in the news, media, wherever people get their information from these days. There's so much negativity around so many different countries. And I get, some places might be unsafe to travel to because, at the moment we're in 2025 and there are wars going on. So perhaps it might not be a great idea to, go to that country. But most countries, like you said, people don't know about the hospitability of people, the kindness, the kind of amazing things there, the food, all sorts of things, the culture. No one knows about these things. So I hope you do. You need to write a kind of book in pictures with writing it. You really do, because, you're the first person I know that's pretty much been to or will soon be, have traveled to every single country in the world. And I think there is something in that. And you experiencing all the things you've experienced and what you've learned about people, and you're not in a 5-star hotel in a resort. You're kind of immersing yourself with the locals, which is very different to me going on holiday to, my hotel in a resort. I mean, I do go out and I can't lie on a bed all day, but that is still very different to what you do. So I think you have a very unique experience that I don't know anyone. I mean, there must be some people like you, but probably very few. you need to do something. You have to write something and put it down so people can see the beauty of the world through your lens. Because at the moment, they just see it as a negative, horrible place. A lot of countries, they see it that way. So, with you traveling so much, I want to kind of discuss the positives in the sense that what mental and physical benefits has it brought you and you think can bring to others who do the traveling? Okay, they don't have to do it exactly like you, but what does it bring people?
I just brings me like so much happiness, but also it restores your faith in humanity. Like because the kindness I've experienced from strangers, almost every country I've visited, has been overwhelming, and I think that's a fantastic thing to see it and to experience. That people, yeah, people are kind. I think people forget that because I think now we live in a world of social media where people can be very unkind, like anonymously, and I I have the complete opposite experience of that. I just experienced the kindness from strangers that I meet along the way. Also, meeting some fantastic women. I mean, some really inspiring and really, really strong women. I think has been amazing. But I think for me, I don't have the stress, and I think that's a massive thing. But for me, I think yeah, I have I have no stress. Traveling, I think, makes you patient. I mean, just not that things don't go wrong, like flights are cancelled, things happen, like all kinds of things happen, like floods, fires, like yeah, military coups. I've been in earthquakes, typhoons. I've probably been in the wall, but that's okay. I can cope with that. I don't have the stress right
Mm.
that most people have, and I think that's fantastic because that stress is such a negative and really really enormous effect on not just the mind but the body and yeah.
Mm.
So I think it's nice. I keep fit. I get to try lots of different foods. I see fantastic sights every day, and I never get blasé about it. I mean, you've seen the view that I have outside of my window here.
Yeah.
I never get fed up of waking up to that view. And it changes. It changes in a different light. I mean, like the scene in sunrise was absolutely stunning. But yeah, it changes all through the day. And I could just sit there for hours and look at that view. It's incredible. So I never get blasé about the fantastic things that I get to see on a daily basis, the foods I get to try, the people I get to meet. It's wonderful.
Yeah. And, some people might think, don't you get lonely because you're on your own? But actually, from what I see, you're not on your own. You have made a community everywhere you've gone really and immerse yourself in communities. And, there's growing evidence now that immersing yourself in community, socializing, it is so good for you. It's so good for your health. So obviously you can't be lonely. So what like for me, I looking at that, I think, okay, you've sold your house, you're traveling everywhere. The first question I would ask you is, well, what about your healthcare? Like, how do you manage that? Like, what if something happened? Because, anything could happen to anyone, anywhere, like even in, me stuck in London here. So how do you manage that going from country to country?
Like, that's fair. I mean, luckily, to toward I've got a very strong constitution, and I haven't in the last 2.5 years. I haven't really been ill, but I have travel insurance, and I think like with travel insurance, like normally, and I'm inexperienced because years ago, like I used to be a tour guide around the world, and I've had experiences when people have been ill, all kinds of different things, from broken jaw to someone having a stroke. But that I had to deal with. And if you've got travel insurance, normally like you get the best care because you go to the best hospitals or the best private clinics. So I think I'd probably less worried about getting ill abroad than I would in the UK and having to probably try and wait for something on the NHS.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So that's the other thing I wanted to emphasize because I know we had that conversation before with the travel insurance, and that's something you don't really. Okay, people obviously hopefully get travel insurance when they go to any country, but you don't actually think about the fact that actually you would get seen so much quicker, and you're probably in like a, more of a private facility compared to what you would have back home. If you don't have private healthcare at home, then you could be waiting for however long.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been in that situation with not just with healthcare. Yes, I've been to so many different facilities with different people when I'm talking, and they were wonderful. And also with them, I remember dentistry. I was in the Czech Republic, and then somebody got an abscess and needed to go to a dentist in the Czech Republic. Wow, it was like something out of the space age. At the end there, it was this dentist was incredible. I was thinking, what was it? And he was so cheap. I mean, it cost like nothing. I was thinking, oh, is there anything that I need while I'm here? Thank you. Yeah. Well, I was in Albania. I had a teeth cleaned and wet and whitened and everything like just when I was in Albania because it was cheap. So I needed let's have a check while I'm here, make sure everything's okay.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah, in certain countries, healthcare will be much cheaper. And I can imagine you probably got your whole like internals, like with your teeth and everything done for next to nothing compared to here, that's for sure. So what kind of practical tips would you give then for someone, who does want to travel but can't afford it? Maybe not like yourself, like just kind of give everything up and go traveling. But someone that just wants to go traveling but thinks, actually, I can't afford that. And, maybe I can get the time off, but it's too expensive because you're constantly doing it and you're doing it on a budget. You're not staying in, glamorous places in that sense. I mean, how do you do it?
Like that. I think it doesn't have to be expensive, and I think that's the thing. Like you mentioned Albania, so I was in Albania actually before I came here. Because like with Albania and Georgia, it's a good place for me to have a little rest and try to sort out my visas for Africa and everything else because it's it's so cheap in both of them. I mean, I can have a nice room and in a small hotel here, like for what? Actually, a really, really nice one for £16.50 a night. I mean,
Wow.
and everything is so cheap, like food is really cheap. My favorite country actually is Iran, and I love Iran for lots of different reasons. But the most important one is because they are the most friendly, most hospitable people I have ever met in my life, and they seem to love me in Iran. I don't know why. All the young girls come up to me and say, "You are so cute. Can we kiss you?" And I'm like, okay.
Oh,
They just kiss me on the cheek and go away. I had both old ladies hugging me in the street. One old lady was tickling me under the chin like I was 3 years old in the middle of the street. And I also remember I was watching some street food being cooked. There's some lovely bread, lots of nice things. And a woman bought one and she tore it in half and gave half to her young son and gave the other half to me.
wow.
I mean, just no kind. But also, like we were talking earlier about men and interactions with men, and I think it was so refreshing in Iran because lots of men came to talk to me, but it was because they wanted to have intellectual conversations with me about all kinds of topics, and that was really refreshing and really nice. And I remember walking through a group of men, and I talked straight to them. There's lots of men both sides, but there's no catcalling, there's no staring, there's no remarks, there's nothing. You can just walk through in complete peace, and it's really fine. And even some men came up to me and apologized because in Iran, since the 80s, since the Ayatollah took over, since they had the religious revolution, and women have to wear headscarves. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy in Iran. I mean, before that, people dressed like me, and they sang and they danced and all kinds of things. And then they have a revolution, and if a woman goes outside without a headscarf, they get whipped. So, like, it's yeah. I mean, I can't understand. I can't even begin to comprehend what that feels like as a woman. But I had lots of men coming up to me to apologize for the fact that I have to wear a headscarf.
Oh, wow.
They were saying, And they were really vehement as well. They were like, yeah, it should be personal choice. You should not have to do this. You should not have to wear this. And one young guy must have been about maybe 20 when his uncle came up to me and he said, yeah, he says, I follow this woman and I still follow her actually on Instagram. And she's trying to get it all banned and she, you know, but I think what people don't realize in the ranks, I spoke to so many people and so many people openly criticize the government, even though there's secret police and they can be arrested. And there's protests happening all over Iran against the government. Yeah, people and the government tear gassing schools and universities because they're protesting. We don't see any of that because it doesn't fit with our narrative of what we want Iran to be like.
Yeah.
And it, and then and they're also you can't British crazy or you can't sing in public. And they love singing, they love music and art and everything else in Iran. So in Isfahan, it's called the city of bridges. And underneath the arches, and they're beautiful, beautiful bridges. And underneath the arches on an evening, everybody meets and they take picnics and they go there to sing and to recite poetry and do all the things that they're not allowed to do. And it's such a lovely atmosphere because obviously the arches, there's lots of residents. And so the sound is incredible. So I'm listening to all these people reciting poetry and singing, and I got invited to share everybody's food. Wonderful.
Wow. I mean, that is a very different view of Iran, especially, given what's going on now as well. I, you know, from what you've told me, it's very different from my view because, of course, I can get heavily influenced by what I'm shown through the media, which is why I very, very rarely watch the news now because I know most of it is rubbish or probably untrue, or they're just showing a snippet of what is actually going on, and repeating that same negative narrative so that you get this negative view and impression of a certain people or a certain country or a certain religious group, whatever that may be. Which is why I have chosen to kind of think, actually, I don't want to know. I want my view of people to be clean. And, for me, it's about mutual respect, whoever it is, wherever you're from. If there's a mutual respect, who cares? It's we have that kind of we want to interact. You don't want to feel negative towards people because of what you see in the news. And I admit I'm not even going to deny it. If someone said to me, "Come on, Shreya, let's go to Iran," I would be worried. I would actually be worried because, I know Iran is full of so much beauty and there is so much, it has a rich cultural history, and there's so many beautiful things to see in Iran that I know of. But I would be worried because I hear things like, when you get taken because they think you're a spy or something like that, and I would feel like, will I get arrested for something that I haven't done? These are the things that will go through my head because this is what I see on TV, right? And you've just proved that actually it's not really like that. Yes, you have to be careful everywhere you go. And I'm sure, like you said, it's more dangerous for me to walk in the middle of the night in London than it would be in Tehran or certain places in Iran because there is no catcalling, there is no, whistling and horrible remarks and so on. So what else about Iran can you tell me? Because ultimately, there's a lot of things going on at the moment and a lot of negativity around the country. And I would love to visit. My daughter's best friend is from Iran, and my daughter said, I really want to go to Iran. And I've actually said to her, I'm not sure if I'm comfortable with that right now.
I mean, I'm really hopeful that sooner or later, or sometime soon, there'll be a change of regime, there'll be a change of government, and then people can have the freedoms that they really want because it is such a wonderful one of the oldest civilizations on earth. I think that's it. And I think the other misconception people get is like that I love the Middle East. I mean, I've been to all of the Middle East.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. I think what people don't realize is most of the Middle East, they're the most educated people in the world. And like most of the women I met when I was in Iran were like architects or lawyers or doctors. And all the young girls that I met were all going to university. And I think that's another misconception that people, that women are so oppressed. And I got invited to lots of houses and it was really nice. And because when I went there, like the men and the women were sharing all the tasks, like the washing up and the cooking and like they were doing it together. And I think yeah, we have this, I think there's oppression by the government, but I think in society itself, I think the culture's completely different.
Yeah, and that's where people's views get mixed up. Yes, the government may be influencing and putting restrictions on their people, but the people are very different, and they a lot of them probably don't want that, and they live lives that we think are backwards, but actually it's not. It's really progressive and really, it's not even, I wouldn't even call it progressive. It's just normal.
Yeah. Yeah, like the young girls there, because they have to wear headscarves, but they make them into like a fashion accessory. So they just wear them on the back of their hands and like they make the match with like really colourful to match with like all their clothes and all their trendy like things. And yeah,
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, wherever you go, whichever country you go to, you have to respect the rules and regulations. It's a mutual thing. If you're required as a woman to wear a headscarf, then wear it. And if you don't want to and you're anti headscarf wearing, then don't go to the country.
yeah. And I think that brings up, because I think that's what traveling teaches you. Like obviously traveling teaches you to be more open-minded. And it teaches you to like not to judge anybody. Like, you can't do that when you're traveling. You just go with an open mind and just experience it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know you talk about, I mean, Iran is one of your favorite places that you've been to. What are your kind of top 5 favorite places of all the 177 places you've been so far?
Okay, so I think close with Iran has to be not a country, but like the islands, the Galapagos, because just for the island wildlife, so completely different, and that's it. The experience there. I mean, I went for 8 days, but ended up staying for twice that because it was just so wonderful. I just stayed there and stuff. I mean, where else in the world can like even in the same day and you swim with penguins? I ain't not a penguin. It's bounced straight between my legs, like in the same.
Wow.
It's crazy. So penguins, sea lions, marine iguanas, sharks, turtles, rays, it's just an incredible place because obviously all the wildlife and all the islands are all protected and the seas around it. So they've got wildlife there that you just can't see anywhere else in the world or experience in that context. And of course, on the land, we've got the giant tortoises and the blue-footed bilbies, and yeah, incredible, incredible. So yeah, Galapagos goes up there, like close second, I think. And where I have Ian's, I say Georgia has got a very special place in my heart because I think it's really beautiful. I have friends here now, and I visit. As you know, I'm going to be doing some little group tours here for women, so culinary ones, and also some trekking tours as well, just for women. Which will be it's going to be incredible. But it's the country which invented wine, and for that I'll be eternally grateful.
Really?
And
Um,
yeah, everybody thinks it's France or something like no. Georgia's the cradle of wine. Yeah,
oh
they
my
invent
gosh, I
wine.
never knew
And
that.
everybody here makes wine, drinks wine. It's a huge part of the culture here. The food's incredible. The food here is absolutely amazing, and it's just so friendly and hospitable and so beautiful. The mountains are amazing, and like you said, not many tourists, and that's what I like. And
Yeah,
I'm
me.
going to go to Europe, I think, for number 4. I'm going to go to Italy.
Okay.
Italy has to be one of my favorite places. Yeah, of all time, and especially Puglia.
Mm-hmm.
So like, yeah, Italy's the boat, and Napoli is the heel of the boat. And it's so beautiful. They have the truly houses, they have beautiful beaches. The old towns are amazing. They have cave towns. You can stay in a cave in Matera. And yeah, I love Italy. Yeah, I love the people, the food. Yeah. Um, yeah, why? It's really hard because there's a lot of flying. I love the South Pacific. I love all the islands in the South Pacific. I think Samoa, maybe I think is probably my favorite. Just completely different culture and just so really friendly. Or North Pakistan is one of the most beautiful places I've ever been in my
Wow.
life. And I love the Hunza Valley. It used to be like, again, I think people have a misconception about Pakistan. And I think, yeah, some of the cities, like Mark, like just full of lots of big. Islamabad's a really nice city. That's really calm and quiet and not much traffic. But in the Hunza Valley, there used to be Buddhists up there, and you've still got kind of like that tradition left over. And it's all about art again and poetry and music and. They pride themselves that they have a 100% literacy rate there in the Hunza Valley. But it's stunning. I mean, where can you see this like the three of the highest mountain ranges in the world all at the same place? You can stand and you've got the Himalayas, the Karakorums, and the Hindu Kush. And it was beautiful. I was there in the spring, and it's like you have all the blossom and then the green valleys and then the white mountains covered in snow. Stunning.
Wow. No one would, that's the other thing, um, northern Pakistan or Pakistan in general, I don't know many people that would go there for a holiday. I mean, I've never been there for a holiday, but I have actually heard that the northern part, where you said the Hunter Valley, is meant to be amazing. But again, in terms of the fear of what might happen, because we're also kind of, our brains are so infused with all this negativity about countries. What was it like up there, to be honest? I mean, I am really intrigued now because it's not somewhere I would even think about going.
Oh no, it's absolutely amazing. And it's so stunningly beautiful. We went up to a place called, I mean, it's even got a fantastic name, the Fairy Meadows. I mean, how can you not like the Fairy Meadows? I mean, actually the road getting up there was not for everybody. It's probably the one
Yeah.
that was not dangerous, but was yeah, hairy journeys to get up there. But you just wake up in the morning and it's just absolutely stunning. But people are just so friendly. As I say, it's all about like art and music and literature. I still keep in contact with a young guy. I was traveling with a female guide. It was just me and her and the driver. And we just had a fantastic time. We were doing this hike anyway. He was from the local village and he was in the army and he was on leave and he says, I'll take you up there. So he showed us the way up to the top of the mountain. We had did the hike with him. And then at the top, he's singing me all these songs. And he was such a medic. We went back and we met his grandma and like on his family. And when he's on leave, he still contacts me. He still messages me. We still catch up every so often. But yeah, just lovely people.
Mm. Look, Lynn, you've been traveling since your 20s. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was some time back, and you're still traveling now. What are the key differences you've noticed from back then to now when you've been traveling?
Yeah, so I think there's pros and cons, isn't there? Because like I said, when I first went off around the world, there was no mobile phones, there was no social media.
Yeah.
And I think although and I think in some ways that was nice because I think what we've lost is we've lost a lot of interaction because people are so absorbed with their phones like all the time. And not just tourists, but locals as well, like sometimes. But not so much some of the countries I go to, because like I go, I can still go to Africa, and I can still have those connections. So, but then again, it's made life so much easier. I mean, my first two round the world trips were 10 years apart, and the difference was incredible. How technology had increased in that time.
Yeah.
So the first time I got nothing, and then the second time I could book a hostel, I could book a youth hostel in Tonga on my phone, and and now I've got Google Maps, and I'm not sure how I ever cope without Google Maps, because now if I haven't got it, if I've lost signal or something, I'm panicking.
Yeah.
Well, where's my phone? I just ask some directions, but yeah, Google Maps, Google Translate. So I think it's a lot easier to travel, but I think it's become a lot more accessible. And also, I think not everybody travels for the right reasons, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think before, when I first started traveling, people were traveling because they just wanted to experience the culture and appreciate that and meet the people and see the full sides. And I think now we've got people who don't actually appreciate the culture and in fact sometimes disrespect it. And I struggle with that, and I struggle with the world of Instagrammers and influencers, and because most of it's fake. It's like there's a place in Bali. I mean, I've been to Bali 5 times. I'm not sure I'll go back because there's just too many people, and the vibe's completely different now. And there's a place there called the Gates of Heaven, and everybody has the famous photo there. And you see all the influencers, and they all show this picture. What they don't show you is to get that picture, you have to queue up for 3 hours, take a ticket, and you wait in line. It looks very serene and you're the only person there. But actually, there's all these queues of people waiting to get this particular photo. And the photo itself is even fake because they use a mirror. So they use a mirror to reflect it down. So it's not even it's not even real. And that's the kind of thing that I really dislike. That people show, and then people are disappointed because they look at these places and think this is what it's really like, and it's not. Just tell the truth about what a place is. If you've got 1,000 people there, then just show the 1,000 people. Don't crop them all out and look like you're the only one. You're the only person there.
Absolutely, I've been there, and it wasn't empty. That's for sure. It was just absolutely ridiculous. I remember once we went to Thailand and we took a boat out to see Phi Phi Islands and all of that. And that, it was it wasn't maybe 8 years ago, 9 years ago, something like that. And I tell you what, I got there and I was so disappointed. I just nearly cried. I thought, this is not my idea of a serene, beautiful place. There were so many tourists and so many boats. It wasn't nice, and that was the reality of it. And back then I wasn't doing any kind of Instagramming stuff, but you're right. You're so right. If I just captured the reality of what it was like there, then people know, because people just capture the beautiful Phi Phi Islands and so on. And you think, oh, wow, look at that. I want to go there. And then everyone wants to go there. And then all of a sudden there's millions of people there and it's not an enjoyable experience anymore.
You see, I've got a picture of Phuket Beach in 1992. And Phuket Beach then, there's not one soul on the beach. There's a woman with one of the wooden things with the fruit hanging off it. She's walking along the beach and she sells the food. There's not another soul on the beach in that Phuket. I mean, I haven't been back. I've got no wish to see Phuket now because it's just, like you said, just thousands and thousands of tourists. But
Yeah,
I think that was a nice thing of being able to travel in the early 90s when there was hardly anybody traveling, and it was just lovely.
yeah. I mean, to be fair, it's a case of it's the rise of people having more money now and able to spend and travel. So you can't, I don't want to kind of berate people for traveling because they've now got the money to travel and they're finally able to see the world. But again, it's about that fakeness of it and not capturing the reality of what travel is now in certain places, compared to what you've just shown me in Georgia. I mean, that's stunning. And I can't see thousands and thousands of people there. It's a bit different.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally agree. On the Bali thing, when I was there last year or the year before, I can't remember. And I've got a friend that I met many years ago. She's a female driver. There, texting around, and I'd send them overseas. I want to go to the places where none of the Instagrams go. Just put it go around like and say some local like experiences. But she would say that as well, you know, like their perception, even in Barnum, it's just too many people, it's too many tourists now. But also they don't have any respect for the culture. Like Ubud is the cultural capital of Bali, where they do all the wood carvings, and
Yeah.
I've still got wood carvings from the early 90s where I bought there. Beautiful. Well, the type of tourists that are going there now aren't interested in that. They just want to do yoga and have like lattes and yeah, like they have their own little community that excludes really like the locals. They're not interested. And I'm not like their dad who's a wood carver, and she said like not make a living now. He's had to do something else because yeah, the people that are coming now they're not interested in that. And I just find that really really sad because the culture of Bali is so rich and so interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just want to do yoga and drink pumpkin like lattes or whatever like that. That's the new and yeah and work online.
Yeah. I guess it feels like to me that's the way the world's going. These kind of fancy retreats and stuff, which is great. You know, it's great going to a retreat. I've never been. I mean, that's something I really want to do. But onto retreats, I know you're having one, and it's different and this is what would appeal to me more rather than going somewhere where you're in a bubble. Yours is more, you talk about yours because you know best, you know about your new retreat that you're launching soon.
I met somebody who's been following me on my travels, and she's from Costa Rica, and some people you meet, and she said she was coming to Georgia, and like would I meet up with her, and I said yeah, I'm happy to show her around. So like you get sometimes you just meet people and you just connect and you just think they're a very really nice soul and just really 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 nice person. And I was chatting to her. She runs some retreats in Costa Rica. So we said, hey, that's like, yeah. And she invited me to go over, and I'm going to, I'm going to arrange it with sort of my friends who are very spiritual into like, yeah, they would really appreciate that. So I said, well, let's get a group of us and we'll come to one of your retreats. And yeah, Costa Rica is beautiful. I've been there twice. So yeah, got to be lucky.
So you're hosting one in Georgia, right?
So in Georgia, I'm running some woman only. So I first met Sophie, my friend, when I came to Georgia first time 6 years ago. And again, we just got on like a house on fire, and we've been friends ever since. And normally when I come, I stay at her house, and she spoils me, and she's been a tour guide here for 9 years, one of the first ones, and yeah. So she suggested when I came this time, she said, Lynn, why don't me and you run some tours in Georgia? So we're just doing them. We're doing some women only tours, but we want to make it a really authentic experience. So we're not going to be eating in fancy restaurants. We're going to have lots of. There's going to be two tours. One of them's a culinary tour. So we're just going to be going to local families and learning their recipes. So we're going to learn how to make some of the most delicious and beautiful dishes in Georgia. We'll do a lot of sightseeing. We'll drink some wine, and yeah, and then the other one just for food and small groups, only 12, so we can have a little bit of intimate experience. Yeah, there's going to be a trekking tour to see some of the fantastic scenery here in town. So yeah, I'm really excited that with Sophie we can just show people like Georgia, but authentically. Just spend time with local families and really get to know the culture, because that's the most important thing.
I think that's so important.
And stay at the local guest house.
Yeah.
Stay at local guest houses. Won't be staying. Home cooking, Georgian hospitality. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, that appeals to me a lot because my holidays, I don't do like traveling holidays. When I say traveling holidays, I mean like going there and really immersing yourself in the culture and the food and the locals and things like that. I try and do a bit of that everywhere I go. But I mean, my holidays are very typical of, pick a really nice hotel, go there with the family and go to the beach, maybe lie in the resort, and then hire a car and go out and see some things. But that is, and I do enjoy, it's nice. It's not, don't get me wrong, I'm grateful that I can do that, but it's so different to really immersing yourself into the culture and meeting locals and seeing. It's such a different experience, and something I think brings you a lot more than going to a luxury retreat or a luxury 5-star hotel and just sitting there and maybe hiring a car like I do and then go around for a bit. And, it's a whole different thing. So I will be putting the details of your women only retreat onto the show notes, and obviously through my newsletter as well. Just if anyone is interested, of course, they can get in touch with you. But Lynn, it has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. I am absolutely inspired by you. I would love, I'd love to do what you do. But I don't want to say the word I can't, but I really am not at that stage at the moment with the kids and everything, but I would absolutely love to do it. But watching you, even if it gets people to take that one next little step of just stepping outside their comfort zone and going somewhere different, or just exploring something different on their own, or perhaps with a group of people like yourself, that that would be great. But Lynn, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have you on. Thanks so much for your time.